So that happened. I did that story. Never denied. Never denied. Instead of getting denied, what I did get was a visit from an unmarked car with lights coming down my road that night and got shot at. So yeah, same day after I did that story, I started getting these tips about how there's people riding around in the outskirts of this small town impersonating sheriff's department officers, stalking young girls when they leave football games and things of this nature, and they call the police department. Nothing ever happens. No, we don't what? Investigate? No. For receipts, like that story I was just telling you about with the rape victim at the casino, here they are. I have their text messages. I have what they're saying back and forth to this young woman. You know what? She's a throwaway. She's nothing. She's white trash. Nobody's gonna help her, and that's exactly the way they treat us. I have some videos of them coming at me, harassing me. I got just stories about how not just sex trafficking here. I'm gonna get more into the sex trafficking in a minute, but more of it's everything. It's sex trafficking, it's drug trafficking, it's murder, it's everything. And you know, don't make it political. There's a story about Ronnie Shorter, an ex-governor of Mississippi, did a story in 2017 about how literally murder investigations go to Washington County, Mississippi to die, and I mean pun intended. I've had 35-year-old civil litigators, black men, civil rights work their whole life tell me that this is the most corrupt county they've ever laid eyes on. And I always wondered why, and how they can get away with it or whatever, but I'm starting to realize how deep this all goes. There's more horror stories, people calling me up. So I said all that because I wanted people to know I did all these stories, and the community starting to trust me more and more. I started getting these stories about pedophiles at the high school trying to mess with their little girls, and the people are responding to the way a news person would want them to. They start telling me their secrets, and I start exposing these people. It's the way our government's supposed to work. I got done looking through these real quick. I'm trying to see if there's anything I absolutely need to talk about. So we can go back to these specific stories later. So I said all that to get to this point. So I was doing these stories, and I had a friend. I used to date this girl 25 years ago, and it's been nothing like that since. But about a year or so ago, she saw me doing these stories, and she was out of her mind. She was on drugs, and I didn't recognize her, honestly. I'm not talking about her looks either, just her. And she started telling me about, she thinks she's been sex trafficked. She told me about these things, and some of these things sound crazy, but not impossible. I mean, I know they happen to people. And I do tell her, I was like, Christy, I want to help you, and I believe you. I do, believe me. I taught her how to pray. I taught her about Jesus. She didn't know. I said, I won't help you, but I'm just going to be honest with you. As long as you're on these drugs like this, nobody is going to believe a word you have to say. And believe me, that's what they count on. That's who they prey on. So, and to this woman's credit, she went and got sober almost immediately. And now her story is, she's wanting to tell her story, and this is one of my sources. And she wants to come forward. And well, kind of waiting on you guys, I guess, whoever's reading this, to hear her story and to do something about it. And she has sat right beside me when I have called about these cops. I've called anybody I could think of, from a local, a county, municipal, state, even federal. I've called the FBI. I got recordings of it. I have this, not even to mention the January 6th stuff on top of all of this, which is insane. But I've called the Attorney General's office a dozen times, and I've had the emails. I've filed these public integrity complaints against these monstrous human beings. Nothing happens. I mean, she's got a human trafficking bus going around. I know she's riding high on Roe v. Wade, and but you know what? I could have trained a monkey to argue that case. It was a horrible law. I mean, anybody could have done it. And you know what? And now you're letting down these women, the way I look at it. You got a human trafficking bus going around the state looking for human traffickers. But I've called your office no less than a half dozen times and begged you to come here and end some human trafficking. I can't even get a phone call returned. And I didn't understand that until maybe here in the last few days, but I'm not gonna get into that yet. We'll let that come to light on its own. So to give a timeline, this all started in around the September of 2019. I started getting the stories about the sex trafficking, the open air prostitution rings, the corruption, all these murderers, all this stuff all throughout 2020. And then going into 2021, I've been thrown in jail, shot at, horror stories. I could tell you about all of it. But 2021, I ended up going through a divorce at the end of 2020, and I'm doing my news journalism thing, and it was like, hey, the election. Always been into politics, and it was Trump's like, hey, come here, it's going to be crazy. So me and a couple friends scraped up enough gas money and went to Washington D.C., and everything that happened when January 6th happened. And believe me, I have called the FBI more than a couple of times on that. I've been to D.C. several times. I've covered one of the federal trials, one of the J6ers. I've been screaming at the FBI. They don't want to mess with me about the January 6th stuff. Now I'm trying to compartmentalize this and not mention the January 6th stuff about this Mississippi stuff, but I'm just saying they know my name for more than one reason. I can prove going back to summer of night. I mean, I can prove talking to the FBI, the attorney generals, going back to 2019, and there's no protection. I'm on an island. I've been left here to defend my life by myself. They don't care. It can't be they're just that incompetent. There's something. They have something they're protecting. Somebody they're protecting. I've had Attorney General Finch office, these little people, after 8 months of being ignored, call me up, Mr. Tatum, I'm going to take care of it and do the yada yada yada, all full of piss and vinegar in the morning. And at 5 o'clock when they call, I have to call them back and get them on the phone. They want me to call Shad White's office for him to come investigate murders and drug trafficking and sex trafficking. Well, what scared that guy so quick? Why'd he fold like a cheap suit that quick? Where he don't want to take my phone call? So I'm just rambling now. I can get more specific if people need me to. But so started September of 2019. The sex trafficking stuff in particular with this witness I have, she came to me around the third quarter of 2020, or maybe the first quarter of 2021, but somewhere in that line. And we've been waiting since then to talk to somebody. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Thank you.